morning, people of God. Welcome to today, Monday, a day the Lord has made and a day we are asked to rejoice and be glad in it. We thank God for the provisions of today. We are asking that may the blessings of this new week abide in us. Amen. In our meditation this morning, we'll talk about the glory of the Father exhibited through the Son. And in our meditation this morning, we'll take our readings from Psalm 19, and then Daniel chapter 4, verse 19 to the end, and Revelations chapter 5. Again, we are talking about the glory of the Father exhibited through the Son. In Daniel, we are told of the story of Nebuchadnezzar, who had a dream, and in his dream, we are told that we are told that a tree grew as long as it touched the skies, and everybody around all the world was able to see that particular tree. And then we are told that the king invited Daniel to come and explain the dream, and we are told that the tree that the king found in his dream was actually him. He was talking about how he was going to go great throughout the world. People are going to see him, people are going to acknowledge him, and as part of it, we are told that it got to a time the branches of the tree were thrown away, were cut down, the fruits were scattered, and when we read Daniel chapter 4, the whole of the chapter would understand the dream and would perhaps get the full story. But this morning, I just want to point out a few things from the dream, a few things from the story, and then we'll ask God that whatever He has for us today will come to pass. We are told that in the dream, we are told that at some point, the tree, though it grew to touch the skies and it had so many fruits and animals were taking rest under it, it got to a time the tree was cut short. And when Daniel was explaining, he says that it is the glory of the king. The king enjoyed his kingdom, enjoyed his reign to the time that his reign got into his head, and then he forgot who he was, and then he became proud of himself, and God had to humble him. We are told that in the story, Daniel, there were timelines that these things were to happen, and after Daniel had explained all these things to the king, we are told that the king perhaps understood. I want to believe that at some point in time he changed. At some point in time, he changed from his proud ways. He became humble. But then Bible makes us understand that about 12 months later, that's about a year, he almost forgot about all the warnings that Daniel gave unto him. And then in verse 29, we read that 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said to himself, "Is this not the great Babylon that I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" At that point, we want to point out that all the warnings that Daniel gave unto him, he decided to forget, or maybe he forgot. And that is something that is happening to us right now. Some of us, we pass through a lot of persecutions. Some of us, we pass through a lot of trials. We have people talking to us. We have people warning us. But then at some point in time, we seem to forget who we are. At some point in time, we seem to forget that there is an element of God. And that is the same thing that happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. But Bible makes us understand that at that point when he declared that this was his kingdom, at that point that he forgot to give the glory of God, the curse or the warnings that Daniel was speaking about came onto him. And we are told that he almost lost everything. He lost his brains, he became an animal, he lost every sanity. And like I said, when we go back to read the story, we'll understand. And we are told that all these things happened, and then after the 7th year, when he realized all this, he raised up his eyes unto the heavens and proclaimed that God himself is great. And at that point in time was when everything was restored unto him. And that is what I also want to point out to us this morning, that we are talking of the glory of God. In Revelations chapter 5, it speaks about the glory of the Son. It speaks about he was the only person who was found worthy to take off the seals and read whatever that there is. And it's talking of the glory of God. And we are saying that at that point when Nebuchadnezzar was able to identify or give God the glory that he deserves, it was at that point that sanity was restored unto him. I don't know what some of us are going through this morning. I don't know what some of us have been going through. I don't know the battles that we are fighting. I don't know the trials that we have fought or we are trying to overcome. But at that point that King Nebuchadnezzar was able to acknowledge that Jesus is Lord, at that point that he was able to acknowledge that God is the creator and he is the person who is worthy of all the glory, sanity was restored unto him. This morning, Jesus is reminding us of the glory that he has in his Father. In Revelations, we are told of who he is. We are told of all the clamor that comes with him. And this morning, I want to remind you, and Jesus is also calling us, that we should come and share in his glory, we should come and share in his power, and perhaps sanity will be restored unto us. It's true that a lot of us are going through a lot of things. It's true that some of us are having struggles that we are fighting. It's true that some of us have battles that we are fighting. But this morning, if you are able to acknowledge that Jesus is Lord, this morning, if you are able to acknowledge the glory that the Father alone deserves, if you are able to acknowledge that he indeed is Lord, then perhaps sanity is going to be restored unto us. And so this morning, I am reminding you of the glory of God exhibited through the Son. This morning, I am reminding you of the glory that King Nebuchadnezzar himself had to acknowledge. And I'm pointing out to you again that at that point that he acknowledged it, it's at that point that sanity was restored unto him. This morning, may we respond to the call of God. This morning, may we respond to the holiness of God. And it's my prayer that sanity will be restored unto us. In our psalm this morning, in Psalm 19, verse 12, it says that, "But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden fault, O God. Keep your servants also from willful sins, and may they not rule over me. Then I will be blameless and innocent of the great transgression that will come unto us." And it's my prayer, and it's our prayer this morning that may the Lord himself find us blameless. May he find us blameless, and may he also free us from the willful sins. In Daniel, we are told that the king forgot about God in his heart. He acknowledged himself that he was great. He acknowledged himself that he didn't need any need from God. And at that point that God showed him that he indeed is God. And so we are praying this morning that in our hearts and in our souls, in our going about, in our interactions with other people, may the Lord himself always remind us of the glory that he has. May it never happen that we are always thinking of ourselves. May it never happen that we are always acknowledging ourselves greater, or we are saying that we have no power. We are saying that we are greater and we don't need God. May we find sanity in God. May we acknowledge the Father through the Son. May we acknowledge his glory, and may we acknowledge his power, and may sanity be restored unto us. In our prayer this morning, we look at verse 19. It says that, "May the words of my mouth and may the meditations of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer." Father, may you find us blameless, and in the times of transgression, may you find us innocent. Amen.